It's got a countdown. It's like the pole shift will happen in 12,000 days or something like that. It's supposed to be, I think, 2047. I'm pretty sure.
2047?
Yeah. We just stop, and then the air and the water and everything just keeps going at that speed. Yeah. So he's like, that's the biblical, wipe away. It's just like the earth stops and you're just like, hey, what's that? And a wave like a mile high just wipes you out with tornado force winds in front of it.
And if you have a strong enough bunker.
Wow. That's his theory was that's why, places like Kuyu were around, right? Is because that kind of shit happened. And people are like, okay, if you've got 1,000-foot waves, where are you going to go? Right? You got to get into some kind of bunker. It's your only situation. And if you structure it right, then if it fills with water, it should almost work like a P-trap. How we were talking about plumbing earlier.
Yeah.
Right? But it'll just keep all the water trapped in one area, and then you've got air and all that other stuff that can flow into another section of the complex where people can actually stay dry and breathing. Anytime they talk about the way that things formed over 1 million years with dripping water like that, I'm always a little skeptical.
Yeah, so when these poles shift, do you personally think that all the water and all the land is just going to, or all the water and all the air is just going to keep going and blow everything, a few kilometers to the left?
True.
How do we know that this whole planet can stop? And how would it stop? It would have to do with gravity, I'd imagine.
The North Pole and the South Pole are both at the equator. They would start heating up pretty quick.
Yeah.
Right? And the other places might start getting cold pretty quick. But other than that, there was maybe two suns. Yeah, I think that's what it is. 2 suns before in our past. So that's what Saturn was, actually another star in our past.
Ooh.
And that's why it's so revered in different cultures and whatever, and so holy in Judaism and stuff.
Why it has a halo.
So the interesting thing about that flag is that there's a hexagram on the North Pole of Saturn. So, and it's like a literal shape, of a hexagram.
Yeah. It's bonkers.
Yeah. And you're like, I think they recreated it in a lab somehow. I saw them. They're like, oh, they recreated it in a lab so they could prove that it can actually naturally happen. But the way they did it was so ridiculous that, you're like, there's no way that that could happen on a planet. It still doesn't explain how it can happen on a planet. If you've got it in a vacuum tube and you light it up with lasers properly and whatever, then yeah, you could form it. But I don't see how it happens on a planet. But anyways,
Terrence Howard figured it out.
Yeah. So he was talking about that. But so that planet is, I'm trying to put this together here. That planet is representative of Saturday.
Yes.
Right? Saturday.
Right.
And Saturday is the Sabbath day, which is, God's holy day for the Jews. Right? So that's their day, Saturn day.
That's about
right. And then the flag, or the Star of David, right? That's the middle of it, is the exact hexagram that's on the North Pole of Saturn. What are the odds that your religion would have the shape, that's got this mysterious shape at the center that you would never be able to tell unless you were in a spaceship somehow or something, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to join in on this factoid tennis. So every cell in your body regenerates after 7 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saturn comes back around every 7 years. Every time you see Saturn come around in orbit,
7-year orbit, eh?
You're a new person.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That goes back to some sort of paganism, Pythagoras or something. Someone who had all that kind of mathematical stuff figured out. And they just this must be related to God.
Yeah. Some people have noticed that there's these airplanes that are flying over top of cities, and there's a green laser sweeping the ground.
Yeah, I saw it, and I saw a red one as well.
You personally saw a red one?
No, I saw a video of also a red one.
Of a red one. So some people got real sleuth about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get the flight logs, right? What plane was over top of my house at this time? And when they saw on a map the flight path, it was like all hairpins. They were doing a sweep, a little bit of a turn, and then sweep down, sweep, 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 sweep. And there was 32 of them, all the same company.
Really? I've never heard of them.
No, but yeah, that's just the company. 32 pilots, 32 employees. That's all that's listed.
Interesting.
And they regularly go out and do sweeps. The areas I saw in this was around the Florida area.
The sweeps of what? Just so you know, we're doing regular sweeps. And you're like, sweeps of what?
The people from the neighborhoods.
We can't say, sir, but we are doing sweeps, just so you know.
The people from the neighborhoods didn't get a notice.
Yeah.
Nobody got notice.
Can you imagine getting a fucking zap like that? So the red light one I saw, basically it was somebody filming it from, it looked like their front lawn or something, and it looked like it was just a steady point in the sky. It looked like it was a star, basically, but it was just a red dot, and it wasn't moving, like it wasn't a plane or anything. It looked like it was just fucking sitting there, like Truman Show style. Like, you know, it was just a light in the sky, and then all of a sudden it was scanning everything with a red light.
Well, it occurred to me that my Apple Maps, they're in 3D. And I just like a dumb idiot, like, oh, how do they do that? That's amazing. Look at how they have that. Or did they scan our planet and not tell us or ask us?
They scan it all the time.
Yeah, I guess so.
They've got satellites, yeah. I just saw something today about like how they were using AI to scan previously undecipherable Bible passages and stuff like that, like of texts that hadn't been figured out. And yeah, and they were saying there was all kinds of interesting nuggets in there. I don't think they mentioned exactly what it was. They just said like, oh, secrets to be unlocked from AI, or like secrets are being unlocked from AI.
There's been enough of those promises, and I want them to come to fruition.
Yeah.
Like whales.
Oh, yeah, how they're like trying to decipher whale language. Or dolphin language, I think they were talking about.
We know they have a language.
Mm-hmm.
They have a certain amount of clicks.
Yeah.
Train AI. So it seems very possible, but then it becomes kind of like a mind screw. We know how to communicate with each other where we pick up a cup and like, this is a cup. We don't know how an animal thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know their point of reference for anything. So we can't adapt a human-minded AI to figure that out. We think. I still want to. Should we?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
Do you want to know what a whale thinks?
Well, whales are particularly like intelligent, I think, right? So it would be interesting.
It's a sad world when I can't make friends with a whale. Yet we do have gorillas that sign language.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, that's interesting. I think I had heard that they've got, you know, orangutans and stuff to do sign language, but they haven't got them to ask questions. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they can't form the questions, but they can answer a question. If you ask them, they can form the thought to answer you, but they can't free think a question, you know, that's outside of like, you know, food or whatever, right?
A trained behavior.
Yeah, like they're not gonna, you know, like you teach them to sign, and you would think, oh, okay, if we spend a few years, we teach them this is this word, this is that word, they can't hold our words in.
Yeah,
exactly, right? But they've got like this small vocabulary related to things that, you know, drive them, like food and, you know, certain, you know, like love. You know, I think that's a big one. Best answer would be that it's probably some sort of cloaking technology, right? Because I mean, even we as humans have been working on that for years. All our military contractors and whatever, that's like the holy grail of fucking military contracting is, you know, invisibility.
Cloaking.
Whether it be for large objects or people. And I've seen some very, very good examples of people just making themselves go invisible with stuff that you can buy from like magic shops and stuff. Like they have certain glass and, you know, just like certain things you can do. It's not very expensive, you know, for a couple $100, you could put together something that like, it's not that it's not noticeable, but you know, you would definitely, if you were looking at it, you'd be able to be like, oh, okay, well, I can tell they're there, but I just can't see them. You know what I mean? Because they're behind some sort of like mirror thing or whatever that's reflecting the light that you're looking at so that you can't actually see them, right? But they're standing there just, the weird angle, basically. So, but you can imagine if they had millions and millions of dollars and they've been working on it for years, they've probably come down to some sort of, technology where they could replicate that on a liquid scale or, something they could put in some sort of flexible material, fiber optic kind of thing, maybe, or who knows what.
Clothing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Down to a suit, be a cloak of invisibility, like fucking a Harry Potter type shit or something,
We all want that. Yeah. You know what I think that actually how they invented it? Those pictures that like you turn it one way, it's one picture.
Yeah.
You turn it the other way.
That's literally the stuff that they use.
Yeah, they just took the picture off the back and they went, wait a minute.
Yeah. Like I've read things about Leonardo da Vinci and they've said like the strokes that he did on these paintings couldn't have even been done by a human because they're so tiny and thin and delicate. They're like, I know he's a master, but like that's like the absolute thinnest fucking like little bit of paint you could get on there. It's almost like it's a photocopy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only person we think that can ever draw a circle end to end and make it perfect.
I think apparently he used to write from right to left, like backwards, basically, in his notebooks.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, he would write right to left, and he'd write it in Latin, which I don't think was his native language. And then there was something else with was it Hebrew? Hebrew is basically just Arabic, I think.
Okay.
But if you take an Arabic letter and then you rotate it 90 degrees, then it turns into Hebrew.
That's how they changed it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So aliens, we're pretty much saying now they're real. They're here. Out of all the different evidence that you see, how about your opinion?
I'm 100% torn. When I was growing up, I was really into aliens, and I had some interesting alien stories.
Okay.
Growing up, and just something I full believed in just right off the bat. I was like, how could you not believe that there wasn't aliens? Like, that's so crazy. It's so much space out there and whatever, right? So I was so hell bent that aliens had to be real, and the government was hiding them, right? That's why no one's talking about it, and it's a taboo thing. But now the government's talking about it, and they're saying all the shit that we were talking about, we were probably right. Like, oh yeah, like you guys were right about a lot of that stuff, and moon bases and all kinds of stuff. And then you're thinking, okay, well, wait a minute. If they're saying that we're right, then maybe we were fucking wrong this whole time.
I think at this point we're all gonna say Roswell was a yes.
Yeah.
But no one has come out with any solid proof.
Yeah.
What I always want to slam my fist into a desk about, maybe kind of works out with the physics, but if you're on a bullet train, then you're kind of fine. But if that bullet train was going the speed of light, you're just gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Pilots in the sky that feel the G-force, their face flattens out. What is the speed of light gonna do to your body?
Right.
We could barely leave our planet anymore. There's so many satellites up out there.
Yeah.
And then it takes us how long? 2 weeks to get to the moon? 6 months to get to Mars? So I guess we learned from Interstellar. You go far and then you come back. You're the same age, but so much time has passed.
Yeah.
That's the trick of time. So you might not
but they could just be in our solar system too, right? Like they don't necessarily have to be from light years away. There could be 3 or 4 races living at every planet almost, and as long as they've got a well built ship, they can get into a really hot planet or whatever. And they're probably not living on the surface. They're probably inside, right?